Well, good morning. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good
Hello.
morning, sir. Yes,
Good morning.
sir.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning. This is Vinay Srivastav.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Welcome.
good morning,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. When do you want me to start?
Okay, we'll start at 11:30 sharp.
Okay. Now 2 minutes are left.
Yes.
2 minutes are left.
You just let me know and I'll come.
Okay, sir.
Just one more thing. We start at 11:30.
Yes, sir.
What time do you think I should stop? I should finish my lecture?
Okay, sir. Okay.
How much time will you give me?
Sir, you can speak for about 25 minutes, 5 minutes for question answer.
Okay.
Everyone should mute their mic.
Yes, there will be some disturbance. So please, all of you, mute your mics.
I think someone has opened both the devices. There is some echo.
Just one more request, ma'am.
Yes.
That please tell all the participants not to send their comments or their questions to me, because I'll be looking at the screen, and when these comments and these questions come, they are bound to disturb me. So therefore, please tell everyone not to post their questions, not to post their comments, so that when I lecture, I don't have any distraction. And later on, I will be able to answer all the questions. And as you have advised, that I will finish within 30 minutes, and then you can take as many questions as you want.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much.
So here we go. We'll start our today's fourth session. So respected Principal of Pragjyotish College, Dr. Manoj Kumar Mahanta, Dr. Mayuri Borkatoki, Head of the Department of Anthropology, Pragjyotish College, distinguished speakers of today's webinar, Professor Vinay Kumar Srivastava, Director, Anthropological Survey of India, Dr. Harichandra Mahanta, Registrar, Dibrugarh University, and all the participants present here today. A very good morning to all of you. Today is the fourth session of the National Webinar Series on Archaeological Anthropology, organized by the Department of Anthropology, Pragjyotish College, in collaboration with IQAC. Our first speaker today is Professor Vinay Kumar Srivastava, Director of Anthropological Survey of India, and he will speak on fieldwork and ethnography. I now request Mr. Sanjeev Malik, Department of Anthropology, Pragjyotish College, to give a brief introduction of Professor Vinay Kumar Srivastava.
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. Good morning to our respected principal of Pragjyotish College, Manoj Kumar Mohanto sir, Vice Principal Madam Dr. Ranjita Deka, HOD of Department of Anthropology, Pragjyotish College, resource persons, research scholars, and my dear students. Today I'll just I have got this opportunity to introduce Dr. Binay Kumar Srivastav with you all. Uh, so I just give you briefly introduction about his career. He taught sociology at Hindu College, University of Delhi from 15 September 1976 to 21 January 1985. He joined the Department of Anthropology, Delhi University as lecturer in social anthropology on 15 September 1986 and professor on 14 January 1997. He was on lien from the Department of Anthropology, Delhi University, where he was employed as professor of social anthropology and joined as principal, Hindu College, University of Delhi, from 10 March 2010. His lien expired on 7 March 2012 and he returned to his department as a professor of social anthropology. He was the head of the Department of Anthropology, Delhi University, from 7 January 2014 to 23 January 2017. He superannuated from the Delhi University on 31st December 2017. From 1st September 2017 to 3rd August 2018, he was the director in charge of the Maulana Abul Kalam Azad Institute of Asian Studies, Kolkata. Presently, he is also one of the editors of Social Change. He joined the Anthropological Survey of India as its director on 1st August 2017. About his research guidance, supervision of awarded doctoral thesis number is 24, supervision of doctoral thesis under progress is 1, and supervision of awarded MPhil dissertation is 29. Apart from this, the number of published books are 23. Also, many research papers were published in referred peer-reviewed journals and also in referred peer-reviewed conferences is number 147. And the number of other publications like edited works, book reviews, volumes, etc. is 161 numbers. He also delivered special lectures in different memorial programs in various institutions and universities, etc. At the last, he also associated with various professional bodies. So because of last time, I could not give so much details about him, and I am really grateful to Dr. Moyuri Barkotoki, ma'am, HOD of Department of Anthropology, for giving me this chance to introduce such a renowned person with you all. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. May I start now?
Yes, sir, you can start. You may start.
So, good morning, to all of you, and my regards and my best wishes to all of you. When I gave consent to speak to you on fieldwork and ethnography, at that time I did not know that the entire program will be devoted to prehistoric archaeology. And when I looked at the program, it made me very happy because generally in the departments of anthropology, archaeology is almost on the margin. Archaeology is not encouraged the way in anthropology departments, physical anthropology and social anthropology are encouraged. In fact, I read anthropology at the Department of Anthropology, and I remember that almost for 25 to 30 years, there was only one person who was teaching archaeology, and he was none other than Professor D.K. Bhattacharya, and he was a very distinguished archaeologist. Although his basic training was in physical anthropology, he had done a PhD in physical anthropology, and later on he moved to Pune to study under the guardianship of Professor Sankalia, and that is how he became an archaeologist. Then he went to France and also other Western countries and wrote a book on prehistoric Europe, which in fact later on gave him a DPhil from the University of Ranchi. So archaeology has been on the margin, and I was very happy to know that your college has given attention to a program on archaeology. This would encourage the archaeologists, and also it will draw more people to study archaeology. I just one more thing I want to tell you about the fate of archaeology in many of the departments of anthropology in our country. Usually what happens that there is no professional archaeologist teaching the course, and the responsibility is given to someone from social anthropology or someone from physical anthropology to teach the course. And it is almost on the margin. Most of these anthropology departments do not have a full specialization in archaeology as they have in physical anthropology, as they have in social anthropology. Archaeology is almost on the margin, notwithstanding the fact that when anthropologists start introducing their discipline to the class or to others, they say that anthropology is a fraternity of disciplines, anthropology is a group of disciplines, and they usually refer to the four-field conception of anthropology, that anthropology as physical anthropology, which is also called biological anthropology, anthropology also has social anthropology, which is also called cultural anthropology, and anthropology has something called prehistoric archaeology or archaeological anthropology. And the final subject within anthropology is what is called linguistic anthropology. And we have seen, if you look at the history of anthropology in the country, you would find that disciplines like linguistic anthropology, and disciplines like archaeology, they have always been on the margin. Some of the departments I know, and I would not like to name them, some of the departments, maybe because they have very few people teaching these subjects, many of these departments do not have either archaeology or linguistic anthropology. And whatever little information about these two subdisciplines of anthropology is provided, this is done within the ambit of introduction to anthropology. And I feel very sorry about it, irrespective of the fact that people have been arguing again and again. And more recently, Professor E.B. Subba of NIHU, in his address, which he delivered at the Anthropological Survey of India, he said, we urgently need to promote linguistic anthropology. We urgently need to have more people teaching archaeological anthropology. The underlying point is very important. This is that archaeology is one discipline or one subdiscipline which is taught in a number of other disciplines. For example, history also has papers on archaeology. And you will also find that archaeology is also within what is called museum studies or museumology. Archaeology, is there in other subjects as well. But there is a fundamental difference between the way the anthropologists deal with archaeology and the way in which others deal with archaeology. Now, when we use this word fieldwork, which is understood as, I'm sure all of you know, the word fieldwork is used in two senses. And the first sense of fieldwork is, it is something which is carried out, it is an exterior activity. It is something which is carried out away from your home, something which you go out and study. And second is that fieldwork is contrasted to what is called the laboratory work, where you test hypotheses in a controlled situation. And when you carry out your fieldwork, you are in situ. And in situ actually means that you are there. Now, we all say, all the branches say, whether you are a physical anthropologist or you are an archaeologist, we all say that anthropologists do fieldwork. And needless to remind you that many people have regarded fieldwork as the crown of anthropology. And often the statement from C.G. Seligman comes to our mind. What fieldwork is to anthropology is the blood of the martyrs to the church. It's an oft-quoted statement. And incidentally, C.G. Seligman was the founder of the London School of Economics, a very distinguished distinguish anthropologists. So physical anthropologists, archaeologists, linguistic anthropologists, they would all say that they carry out field work. They all go out and collect the data in the natural context, in the context of the actual situation. I just said in situ, where the things are, and they also say that fieldwork is a lengthy activity. You spend more time collecting this. But there is a difference between the way physical anthropologists conduct their fieldwork, the way in which archaeological anthropologists conduct their fieldwork, and the way in which social and cultural anthropologists do their fieldwork. And there are differences. In fact, in the departments of anthropology, usually what happens is some of the enthusiasts in social and cultural anthropology, they go to the extent of saying that fieldwork is only conducted by them and fieldwork is not conducted by archaeologists and physical anthropologists. They would even go to the extent of saying that physical anthropologists do what is called data collection. What archaeologists do is to collect the remains of the past, the remains of the unperishable past, the past which has not perished, the remains which are there, and they collect it and come back and subject them to analysis. Now, but this is a very myopic view. I would say it's a very jaundiced view of looking at fieldwork, that one is just data collection and the other is you just go there and collect the artifacts. Right? And I'm sure, because all of you are archaeologists, you all know that from the late 1950s, the discipline called processual archaeology has been in use. And it was earlier called new archaeology, and then it was renamed processual archaeology. And Gordon Willey and Philip Phillips, they wrote a book in 1958, and we must all read it. And I still remember, although I did not have a chance to go back to the exact references, I still remember that their argument was archaeology is anthropology, otherwise it is nothing else. That was a very important point which they put forth. And I realized the meaning of this statement when we started looking at the other approaches or other perspectives which came in archaeology, where there was a very common ground, a ground which was built up between archaeology on one hand, physical anthropology, and social anthropology on the other. Those of you who have been going through the past issues of current anthropology and also American anthropology would immediately recall that there have been people who have been making use of the archaeological evidence and looking at it from the point of view of physical anthropology. It's a simple thing. Can, on the basis of the tool typology, the things which you find, can you, on the basis of tool typology, can you say anything about the intelligent quotient of the people? Can you infer anything from text? Can you, on the basis of the tool typology, can you say anything about whether the tool makers or tool users were using the right hand or their left hand? This is a very interesting thing, that how the tools were manufactured. And you are only studying, and this was the point of view which was put forth by Gordon Willey and Philip Phillips, and this was carried forward by many people later on. And processual archaeology today is one of the important branches or important perspectives within archaeological anthropology, and it has taught many things. And also, one of the greatest contributions of processual archaeology was that it brought two disciplines in a very close relationship, namely anthropology and history. One is always reminded of the famous statement from Frederick William Maitland, and this statement was that anthropology is history and it is nothing else. And this point of view, that anthropology is very close to close to history. This was further developed by the British. What was happening? Which was further developed by the British anthropologist Sir Edward Evans Pritchard. Now, his book of 1951 provided a different perspective altogether. I'm only trying to explain how archaeology and anthropology have come closer, with the result that one would not be wrong in saying that archaeology is the social anthropology of prehistoric societies, and one will not be wrong in saying that archaeological perspective illuminate historical understanding of our society, how the disciplines have come closer. And so archaeology is not just collection of the tools in bags, bringing them back to the laboratory and then measuring them and drawing them and providing some kind of a statistical analysis of that. The approach, very important, is that what do you infer by looking at this about the kind of people who used to live. And I will not, because I'm not a professional archaeologist in any way, but I would like to further here the point that we have to, number one, and this is a message to all the anthropology department, although I know very well and I know full well at this point in time that how anthropology stream is really drying up. Positions are not filled, and you also find that teachers are not there, and some of the departments, the illustrious departments of anthropology, have come to the brink of almost extinction just because there are no people. People are retiring, new people are not coming. And obviously, in this context or against this backdrop, you will not be able to promote different branches of anthropology as you might have imagined at one time. So our perspective here is to rehabilitate archaeological anthropology. Rehabilitate in the sense that archaeology is no more seen. Archaeology is no more seen as just a study of these artifacts and just drawing them and writing their description. The way in which archaeology was taught and is still taught in a large number of departments. I'm not giving any specific example, but I have seen that archaeology practicals are, as they are called, where archaeology is included, anthropology is included within the science faculty. The archaeology practicals are that you have is tool typology, different kinds of artifacts. You draw them and then you write the description. That's all. But moving beyond it, where you apply the wings of your imagination and see that how these kinds of art assemblages can help us in understanding. I have always been thinking that archaeological find, even if it is a surface find, it can be studied in situ. And I have been against, and when I was in the department, I used to tell my colleagues as well, that when you go to an archaeological site, of course, as an anthropologist, you cannot do any excavation. You can only, collect the material from whatever is available from the surface find. And I used to tell them, kindly do not remove the artifacts from there. Let the artifacts remain where they are. What you can do is, it will be an arduous job, but then fieldwork is always arduous. Fieldwork requires that you have to be committed to that, and the job should be that you should stay wherever the assemblage is found. You should draw it there itself, and also look at the relationship of those implements or those artifacts with other artifacts. Say, for example, the chopper and the early forms of hand exchange, or cleavers and scrapers and the other thing. So you have to study them in situ rather than removing and bringing it to department offices or department rooms. And in fact, I do not, once again, do not want to give the example, but if you go to some of the anthropology departments, you'll find tons and tons of these implements which are lying. And every year the students go for their exploration and they collect it and bring it and produce some kind of a little tiny dissertation. And this is something which should not be done. In fact, it must be included within the codes of ethics we use for anthropological thing. So my submission here is to look at the past from an anthropological eye. And for this kind of an approach, we have to bring archaeology and anthropology closer, not only in terms of teaching, but also in terms of research. I have seen some people like Colin Renfrew, who was at the University of Cambridge, and he promoted a number of studies where the anthropologists having their training in physical anthropology or social anthropology, these anthropologists and archaeologists came together. I still remember that when I was a graduate student at the University of Cambridge, I remember that we used to have workshops like this. For example, human nature. And the workshop will have an archaeologist speaking on human nature, a biological anthropologist speaking on human nature, and then social anthropologist speaking on that. And also a linguistic anthropologist giving different points of view, and how these different points of view and different approaches, how they can be juxtaposed and how they can be brought together. One of the major things which happened with the work of Evans Pritchard was that anthropology came closer to history. And Evans Pritchard said it very categorically. And those days, when the British anthropology was almost being ruled by A.R. Redcliffe Brown, and Redcliffe Brown was one of the major protagonists of social anthropology as a natural science of society. In fact, posthumously, the book was published. Redcliffe Brown's book called Natural Science of Society, because his approach was the positivistic approach. That what is our job? Our job is to find the laws, and we can study the society as scientifically as possible. And you also know that Redcliffe Brown was so much interested in seeing what people do that he completely ignored what are called the mental artifacts, the way in which people think. And that is why for Redcliffe Brown, what was very important was the actual action. So he gave more importance to the study of ritual and less important to the beliefs, because beliefs are in the minds of the people. You can observe ritual, but certainly you can't observe the beliefs of the people. Therefore, it was a very positivistic kind of thing which was happening. Now, with Evans Pritchard, the shift came. And incidentally, you will find that all these ideas which brought anthropology closer to history, all these ideas emerged in the 1950s. I just told you Evans Pritchard's work came in the early 1950s, and this Willie and Phillips' book of processual archaeology, this came in the late 1950s. So these kinds of approaches brought anthropology closer to history, and thus anthropology acquired a different identity. And that identity it acquired was that anthropology is a kind of, and I'm using the word from Evans Pritchard, it's a kind of historiography. It's a kind of writing of the history. And this point was developed further by many people, and many people actually subscribed to this idea, and this also signaled the downfall of positivism, the kind of positivism or the sociologistic positivism as it is called, which was being pursued and which was being furthered by A.R. Radcliffe Brown. Now, the point which processual archaeology put forth was that, and this will be the last thing, I have 5 minutes left and then I will stop, was that looked at society as a process, Thus, do not ignore the evolutionary perspective, the way in which it has evolved. And there is no doubt about it that evolution has taken place. There is no doubt about it that evolution is occurring in all the aspects of human society, whether it is the biological aspect or it is the cultural aspect. Evolution is going on, and therefore the study of a site, the study of an assemblage, this will give you an idea of who these people were, the kind of ecological environment in which they lived, the kind of resources which were available, the way in which people migrated from one place to the other, the theory of greener pastures, that you move from one place to the other place because you were looking for the opportunities to survive. Was there a war between groups? Was there were scrimmages between groups? Something about the way in which people live on the basis of the assemblages which are there. Now, Pilford had another very important idea, and I'm sure it is still in our minds. We also know this, although we know that we have to be very cautious about this kind of thinking. You all know that the comparative method in anthropology declined primarily because the comparative method thought that the people who are surviving today, they are the remains of the past. Now, this was a very important idea, and those of you who are familiar with the history of anthropology, they would know that Sir Edward Tyler, he called the contemporary people who were living in the stage of foraging, in the study of hunting and food gathering, he called them, I think some of you, may not be knowing. What did he call them? He called them social fossils, unquote. This was Tyler's word. No, social fossils. Morgan, the other founder of anthropology, the American anthropology, he called them survivors of the past, the vestiges of the past. Now, this is something which flourished in the last decades of the 19th century. That if you study the contemporary primitives, unquote, and I'm actually following, George Peter Murdoch. This was Murdoch's idea of contemporary primitive, that they are primitive, but they are our contemporary. And therefore, the word primitive has to be understood in proper sense. Of course, we know it that after some time, this word primitive was completely discarded and we don't use it. Today, whenever we use the word primitive, we always put it under inverted commas. In fact, those of you who are interested in the history of anthropology will be really profited reading Stanley Diamond's work, which was on the history of the concept of primitive, and later on Edgar Cooper wrote on it, that how this concept came and what did it actually mean. Because we are saying time and again that concepts are not empty. Some idea or the other idea is filled in the concept. So these people thought that once you study these contemporary communities on which the information was made available by the itinerant, by the missionaries, by the travelers, once this information is available, okay, you will be able to know something about the prehistoric time on the basis of the people who are our contemporaries. Later on, we all know this meaning of the comparative method was completely discarded. We certainly don't use that idea, and comparative method became, as Radcliffe Brown later on said, that that it became one of the major methods, to move from particular to general. Ethel Brown used the two terms, ideographic to nomothetic. By nomothetic, he meant the something which is general will be able to. So, however, some of the archaeologists, and Binford was one of them, who said that there is some kind of a continuity, from the past to be seen as an unbroken chain. Thus, if you go to a hunting and food gathering society and you study this, the society from the point of view of the way in which the people live. If you study the society, you would be able to get some idea of the way in which the environmental factors were managed in the past. It is not saying that you throw the present into the past, but you can have some idea about how the things were done at this point in time. One can always be hypercritical of these approaches. One can always question the concept of the psychic unity of mankind, that all human beings think in the same way. An idea which was given by Adolf Bastian, and it ran through the entire evolutionary approach. You can be critical of this, but this kind of a thing came up. And so, which impact did it have on the discipline? The impact it had on the discipline of archaeology was that archaeologists were now going for first-hand field work. Archaeologists were trying to understand the relationship, and I would underline this word, the relationship of people to antiquity. What people think about the antiquity? Are they able to relate in any way with these antiquities? I'll just give an example and then I will close it. We were doing a piece of field work in a particularly vulnerable tribal group in Madhya Pradesh. And well, we happened to, the community is called Saharia, and we happened to go to one of their villages where the people started telling us about some caves which had paintings. They were not like Bhimbetka and others. Something. So, well, we thought of going there. It was a long journey, but somehow we reached. We saw these paintings, took a couple of photographs, and then we came back. And immediately it occurred to us, or of course, the students were not collecting information on the painting. They had come to collect information on social and biological variables for their dissertation. And when we came back, I started asking the people, the local people. I said, what are these? What are these things? And they said that these are chin. And chin is the Hindi Sanskrit word for marks, for the insignia, for certain symbols which are there. They are chin. I said, very interesting. Do you go there to see them? I said, no, we don't go there to see them, but we know they are there, and they are here from the antiquity. And so we started investigating, because you see, remember one thing, that physical anthropology or social anthropology, or for that matter, any branch of anthropology, we ask questions. And one set of questions would lead to another set of questions. I always submit that an important aspect of any field situation is what is called serendipity, chance finding. We had not expected that just in the habitation of this area, we would find a couple of caves in the close vicinity where there would be paintings. We didn't know this, but we found it. Now, it was an interesting thing. I thought that we must investigate. And later on, I discussed all this with Professor Prevailing. Some people started telling us what they are. In the conception of the people, these were the marks, these were the children, which were left by Sita ji. when she was being forcibly taken away by Ravan. So wherever, or whenever night came, Ravan asked Sita ji to go inside the cave and sleep. Ravan used to sleep outside. This is what people are saying. And then Sita ji drew this. So that if tomorrow, when Rama comes, Lord Rama comes, he would be able to find it. But this is their conception of the people. This is their understanding of the people. And one of the things which came about is not only that you study these communities, but also look at the relationship of the people with their antiquity. And the moment we start with the relationship of the people with their antiquity, we move into what is known as the discipline of museums, museology. My basic submission is, with this I will close the lecture. My first submission is that we should not take a narrow concept of fieldwork, and we should not think that only one kind of people do fieldwork, the others do not do it. The second thing which I want to submit is that what archaeology has contributed and has been really benefited from the works of Leslie White, from the works of Julian Stewart, cultural ecology, and all these, archaeologists have tried to reinstate, they have tried to rehabilitate the evolutionary approach to the study of human society, an approach which was almost pushed to the back seat by functionalists, by the positivists, who did not want to give much attention to the study of the past, because they were overwhelmingly, they were synchronic in their approach. The third thing which I want to bring here is that how, with this evolutionary perspective, with later on evolutionary perspective, moving into historical perspective, but footnote here is that evolution and history are two different things. So when these things came together, you find that the disciplines come closer. Both archaeologists and anthropologists are interested in what is called an overall understanding of human society. Then only we would be able to give credence to the idea, support to the idea that anthropology is the study of human being in time and space. It's not just the study of synchronic communities, it also is a study of the diachronic communities. Therefore, archaeologists have done great job by studying the foraging communities and coming out with a perspective which has enriched anthropology. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. You have indeed enlightened us with your wonderful and informative talk. And I'm sure all of us present here today, especially our students, have gained a lot of knowledge in this vast spectrum of ethnography. Thank you, sir. Now I would like you, sir, to answer a few questions. Students, participants, if you have any questions, you may kindly put up your questions in the chat box. We can answer. Sir can answer. Any questions, please? Time is running short, so I hope those interested can give a few questions. You can write in the chat box now.
If there are no questions, then may I
Yes.
take leave? Because I have
Yes,
to
sir.
attend to some more tasks.
Okay. Yeah, there is one question, sir. How Anthropological Association is working to promote anthropology and increase its status in India? This is by Jagjit Kaur.
Actually, this is a very important question. Well, my very humble submission here is that anthropology is surviving outside anthropology departments. Economists, historians, psychologists, linguists, they are making use of a lot of anthropology, including economists. One of the articles which I read on culture was by Amartya Sen, and it was such a brilliant article where he tried to argue that how culture is an important thing for even for economists. And he said that these economists have been you know have been ignoring the study of culture. But this is an unfortunate thing, but it is not so in other parts of the world. It's an unfortunate thing in India that anthropology departments are really shrinking. And I have no hesitation in saying that many of us have become so cloistered and we have moved into our own cocoons that we are not able to, tell the world how important anthropological understanding is at this point in time. I was quite impressed with the writings of an anthropologist called Thomas Hyland Erickson, who spoke of what is called inward gazing, underquote inward gazing, that we are only looking at our own discipline. We are not venturing out to see how anthropology could contribute to an understanding in a more holistic manner. With the result, that you find that even when you have, even when you have some of the pressing problems, for example, the Corona 19, the COVID 19 pandemic, anthropological writings are less. Anthropologists are looking at this problem less, and this is where anthropologists have to take the lead. There are three aspects to this. Number one, that this kind of a movement to realize the significance and importance of anthropology, this should come not only from the anthropology department, the professional anthropologists, but also from a number of associations, a number of WhatsApp groups. And there are some very prominent associations. Some of these associations were founded years ago, like Ethnographic and Folk Culture Society, or Indian Anthropological Association, or the Calcutta Association. Now, these associations can be very old, and I'm very, proud to say that journals like Eastern Anthropology, they're continuing with the uninterrupted publication from 1947. And I really feel that I was the editor of this journal for almost 15 years or so. And we have done immense work. You look at some of the writings which have come, but now is the high time that we come out of our inward gazing, come out of our cocoon, and then only we'll be able to make an impact on the outside world. And the outcome of this will be that anthropology will flourish.
Sir, there is another question by Abhishek Bhome. What is being done to prevent theft of artifacts?
Well, what is being done?
To prevent theft of artifacts.
Well, this is a very good question, but I am not a very good, respond. I would not be able to give any response to this because I'm not from museum study. Perhaps Dr. Bhomik should ask this to Professor K.K. Basa, should ask to, if he is in Calcutta, then you could ask the director of the Indian Museum what they are doing. I will not be able to answer. The only thing I would like to say is that today museums are being discussed. Museums are at the center of controversies, particularly because of the way in which museums have tried to depict the communities, and also because the communities want a kind of appropriation of their culture, that you have not been handling these things well. Like the famous movement which came among the Yanomamo Indians, which was give my blood back. You have taken my blood. Give my blood back because this is my blood. This is the blood of my ancestors. If you want to know more about this, you can read it, that this is our blood samples which these people came who wanted to carry out a genetic study on us. They carried these blood samples, and then they are lying in the refrigerators of many universities in America. Give us our blood back, because our ancestors are hanging in the air, and our ancestors will be able to get a release from this world only when all the parts of their body are united with them. But this kind of a thing, where we are conscious of the fact that these are our things and they must come to us. This is where the museums, have to face, especially the so-called ethnographic museum, where the communities come and they visit. I have seen in my own regional center at Jagdalpur, the last thing I tell you, Jagdalpur, which has a large number of exhibits from the local Bastar communities. And the local people come and they see a very interesting kind of research which can be done is how these people who come to visit our museum, how they relate themselves, just a minute, how they relate themselves to the museum exhibit. So this is an important thing, important part of this. Thank you very much.
Sir, there are many more questions, but as we have limited time, it will not be possible to entertain all the questions now, sir. So the participants may contact sir later on to answer their queries, because we are running short of time, sir. I'm so sorry. We are not being able to allow all the questions to be answered.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Grateful to
Thank
you.
you.
Grateful.
Yes.
Sorry
Thank
to
you once again, Professor.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am, Vice Principal, ma'am. Sorry to interrupt. I'm Moyuri Borkotoke. Our principal, sir, wishes to address Srivastava, sir.
Okay.
Okay. We are going to give him. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Over to you.
Good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon. It is an honor, privilege for me to be here in this national webinar series organized by our anthropology department. I am thankful to Professor Vinay Kumar Srivastava sir that he has given time, despite of busy schedule, he has given the consent to deliver his lecture today. And I am once again thankful to Srivastava sir for his deliberation today in this national webinar. Thank you very much, Srivastava sir. Thank you very much for your
Thank you very much. Grateful to you. We'll meet again, and all the best to your college.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Our next interesting topic is Prehistoric Archaeology of India, a brief history of archaeological research in the subcontinent. And our noted speaker today is Dr. Harichandra Mahanta, Registrar of Dibrugarh University. I would like to request Pankhi Sharma, Department of Anthropology, Pragjyotish College, to please give a brief introduction of Dr. Harichandra Mahanta.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my privilege that I'm going to introduce such a renowned person. Dr. Harichandra Mahanta sir obtained his master's from Guwahati, Department of Anthropology, Guwahati University. He had completed his PhD from GU in 1996 and had joined as a lecturer in the Department of Anthropology, Dibrugarh University in 1994. Dr. Mahanta had joined as Deputy Controller of Examination in Dibrugarh University in 2003, and in the year 2012, he had joined as the Controller of Examinations. He also did Master of Business Administration from IGNO in 2015. In the year 2018, he has joined as the Registrar, Dibrugarh University. He was also the first Coordinator of Directorate of Distance Education, Dibrugarh University, and first Member Secretary of CEE. In 2011, Dibrugarh University introduced semester system in undergraduate program, and Dr. Mahanta was entrusted the job of semester examination independently. At present, he is a life member of 2 professional bodies. He has published a lot number of articles, more than 20 research papers in national and international journal, and presented 5 papers in international conference. He has been awarded Education Excellence Award by Confederation of Indian Universities, New Delhi in 2019 for his outstanding contribution as educator. Thank you. So I would like to hand over the mic to Dr. Mahanta sir.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, sir, you are
So
audible.
I will share some PPT. So the slide quit only. Is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes, yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Namaskar. A very warm good afternoon, galaxy of intellectuals, resource persons, research participants, and my dear students. It is a matter of immense pride for me to sit here before all of you this afternoon. I commend the Department of Anthropology, Pragjyotish College, and IQAC cell for organizing this topical and excellently relevant national webinar series on archaeological anthropology during these pandemic times. Congratulations. I also take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the organizing committee, President and Principal, Pragjyotish College, Dr. M.K. Mahanta, Vice Principal, Dr. Anjita Deka, Joint Convener, Dr. M.K. Majumdar, and Dr. Mari Barkatoki, for giving me this opportunity to say something on prehistoric archaeology. And all the resource persons who have delivered lectures on some of the relevant topics for the teachers, researchers, and students. I am sorry not to have been able to follow your deliberations and discussions last 3 days due to my busy schedules and other assignments. Sorry for that. As it has already been stated that I am a student of anthropology, having specialization in prehistoric archaeology, and started my career as a lecturer in anthropology in Dibrugarh University, and subsequently I switched over from academics to administration, and right now I am the registrar of Dibrugarh University, but still I have been continuing my research and studies in prehistoric archaeology. Dr. Moiri Barkatoki approached me a few days back to say something on prehistoric archaeology, and I immediately accepted and I give a topic, prehistoric archaeology of India, a brief history of research in the subcontinent. Though it is subcontinent, I have going to say the prehistoric archaeological research only in India. The other parts, say Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, this has been excluded from the present topic. As you know that before going to study if it is archaeological or social anthropological or physical, we have to know the geo environment and physical environment and the island country Maldives. The Indian subcontinent covers about 4.4 million square kilometers. It is 10% of the Asian continent, or 3.3 of the world land surface area. As you see in the left slide, there is a red mark, which is the Himalayan, and it continues from Kashmir to the Arunachal Pradesh. And at the left, the red mark is Thar Desert, and the green mark is Indo-Gangetic Plains, and the other red is the Deccan Trape, and the peripheral green marks is the coastal areas. And the India is shown in the world context. And the geological setting, which I have already told, that the subcontinent can be divided into 5 physiographic regions. The northern mountains, Himalayan and northeastern area, Indo-Gangetic Plains, middle part, the peninsular plateau, southwestern area, the desert, Thar Desert, mostly in western area, and coastal plains. The climate of India is mainly, there has been 4 seasons in this area. This is winter, summer, monsoon or rainy seasons, autumn period, and late autumn, which is known as Hemant. And temperature in general in summer up to 45 degrees centigrade, and in winter down to minus 40 degrees centigrade in most of the Himalayan areas, Leh, Ladakh, etc. And as you know that Cherrapunji in Meghalaya is the highest rainfall place in the world. It is also the world's wettest place. There has some area with snow. There has hundreds of rivers. Amount of major rivers more than 40. All major rivers of India originated from one of the 3 main watersheds: the Himalaya and the Karakoram ranges, Vindhya and Satpura range in central India, Western Ghats in western India. And so far flora is concerned, the flora is the richest of the world due to a wide range of climate, topology and environments. Over 15,000 species of flowering plants have been seen in India. It has more than 45,000 species of flora. There are more than 3,000 documented medicinal plants. And as you know, Northeast India is very rich in medicinal plants. These are some of the common flora found in India, then common fruits. And so far fauna is concerned, there are about 2,546 species of fishes, more than 197 species of amphibians, more than 408 reptile species, more than 1,250 species of birds, more than 410 species of mammals. Present people and habitation. Overall, it accounts for about 45% of Asia's population. Over 25% of the world's population is found in India. Most people are living on agriculture. Different types of food habit, but common with rice. Most of the house made of nearest natural resources. And different ethnic groups on the basis of language have been seen in India. The first one is Indo-Aryan, then Iranian people, Dardic peoples, Dravidian peoples, Austro-Asiatic peoples, Tibeto-Burman peoples, Turco-Mongol peoples and Austronesian peoples, Semitic peoples, Thai peoples, European and Eurasian peoples, Afro-Asian peoples, Andamanese and Nicobarese groups, and linguistically isolated groups. And if you see the extent of the population, particularly Indo-Aryan languages, mostly the northern part of India, western part, and the central India is occupied by the Indo-Aryan language people. Then some parts of Pakistan, Brahul, and the Deccan Plateau, and some parts of Orissa and West Bengal, we have Dravidian language people in Indian subcontinent. Then extent of Iranian language, we have also seen, so for example, the Persian and Scythian people who are originally Iranian languages are also seen in mostly Gujarat and Goa in India. Then extent of Tibeto-Burman language, this is one of the large group. This is living in mostly Tibet, Bhutan, then Nepal, and northeastern states, Myanmar, etc. And if you see the table, the Burmese people, around 35 million people who speaks Burmese, and they are found mostly in Myanmar. And Tibetan, 5 millions, and they are found in Tibet, Ladakh, and Bhutan. Then Noso, around 2 million, and they are mostly found in South China, Sichuan and Yunnan Valley. Then Gao, around 2 million population, they are found in East Myanmar, West Thailand, and the Bodo group, it is 1.7 million. They are mostly found in northeast India, Assam, and Meitei, 1.5 million population. They are mostly found in Manipur and Assam. And Pau Karen, this is again 1.4 million, and they are found in East Myanmar and West Thailand. Then Tamang, again it is 1.4 million, and they are found in Nepal. Then Wai, this is found in South China, mostly in southwest Yunnan. Then Garo, 1 million, and this is found in northeast India, particularly in Meghalaya. And Jinko, around 1 million population, and they are found in North Myanmar. And in this slide, you will see the life in the hilly, flatlands, and desert and coastal areas in India. With all of the information, it is totally clear as the subcontinent is a very diverse area. Even it has almost reverse culture within its area. Life pattern is different for the environment. The area has a long geological and occupational background. So now I'm going to my actual presentation, which is a brief history of archaeological research in India, which can be divided into 4 phases: before 1857, then after 1857, after 1947, and contemporary situation. Before 1857, the knowledge about archaeology started during the middle 18th century by the French and Danish people. It was the drawings of the West Indian monuments of Elephanta and Kanheri. The first in 1753, J.B.B. Anville, a French geographer, published a book on Indian geography with detailed discussions of the locations of some ancient sites. The Asiatic Society of Bengal, established in 1784 by William Jones to study the history and antiquities and art, sciences, and literature of Asia. Then James Prinsep, decipherer of ancient Indian script of Brahmi and Kharosthi in 1838. In 1861, the government established the Archaeological Survey of India. And Alexander Cunningham surveyed and discovered many sites during 1861 and 1865 and 1866 to 1885 as the director of Archaeological Survey of India. These are the photographs. The first one is James Prinsep. The next one is Alexander Cunningham and William Jones. After 1857, it was the archaeology as architecture studies, because the British colonizers needed the Buddhist evidence for their divide and rule policy. And the Indus civilization discovered by Dear Sahani in 1921, that is Harappa, and Rakaldas Banerjee in 1922, Mohenjo-daro. So after this, the policy of archaeology changed in India. And John Marshall did a lot to develop the archaeology of India. Sir Mortimer Wheeler went to India in 1944 to 1948 and established a systematic archaeology on the basis of stratigraphy. He worked at Taxila, Harappa, Arikamedu, and Brahmagiri. He was the pioneer of scientific archaeology in India. So these are some photographs of Mortimer Wheeler and John Marshall. Prehistoric archaeology until 1947. In 1863, the British administrator Robert Bruce Foote discovered the first conclusive Paleolithic tool, a hand axe, in Pallavaram near Madras, southern India. And in 1884, he again discovered the 3.5 kilometers long Belum caves in Andhra Pradesh and second largest cave in the Indian subcontinent. Robert Bruce Foote is considered as the father of Indian prehistory. Until Wheeler organized a prehistory section in the survey, there was no official interest in prehistory in India. Dr. D.N. Wadia and thereafter H. D. Terra in 1928 and 1932 respectively discovered stone tools, mainly chopper and chopping tools, from Sowan Valley, Shivalik Hills. After 1947, after the partition and independence from British rule in 1947, the history of South Asian archaeology became the history of archaeological research in 5 nation states: India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, and Bhutan. There have some prehistoric studies till 1980s. A different approach was started by Professor H.D. Sankalia. He is the known personalities to all of you, and he was the director of Deccan College Postgraduate Research Institute, Pune, and he has first started the prehistoric archaeological research in India in a systematic manner. And contemporary situation, so far archaeological research in India and abroad. Archaeology becomes the historical studies in different nation-state components. All countries are doing same type of research. No significant advances not yet been started. And after 1980, prehistoric research is being laced day by day. Prehistoric period in India. So prehistoric period of India can be divided into many periods. The first one is Paleolithic period, which is known as Old Stone Age, and it started in 2 million years BC and continued up to 10,000 years BC. Then the Mesolithic period, which is Middle Stone Age, from 10,000 BC to 8,000 BC. Then Neolithic period, New Stone Age, which is continued from 8000 BC to 4000 BC. Then Salcolythic period, copper or Bronze Age. This is 4000 BC to 1500 BC, and the last one is Iron Age, 1500 BC to 2200 BC. And if you see the Paleolithic period, the Old Stone Age can again be divided into three periods. The Lower Paleolithic, it is up to 1 lakh BC, then Middle Paleolithic, 1 lakh BC to 40,000 BC, and Upper Paleolithic age from 40,000 to 1000 BC. If you see the time bracket for all the cultures, mostly the Paleolithic culture, we have a difference in the context of say Africa as well as Europe. Then this is the prehistoric sites of Stone Age India, and you will find that the Northeast Indian states are left blank. I'll discuss this later on when I will discuss about Northeast Indian prehistory. Then Lower Paleolithic age of India. Early hominids occupied almost all parts of India. They were hunters and gatherers. Tools used were hand axe, choppers, and chopping tools and cleavers. In the Thar Desert in Rajasthan, they camped around small seasonal streams and playa lakes. Their habitational sites, including caves and rock shelters. And the prominent excavated sites of Lower Paleolithic age are Adamgarh and Bhimbetka in central India, Atirampakkam in Tamil Nadu, in the Hosang Valley of Karnataka, then Lalitpur in central India, and Isampur in South India. Some important faunal remains found were Sas nomadicus, Equus nomadicus, Hexaprotodon nomadicus, Stegodon insignis, Genia, and fossil teeth of Bos species and Equus species. Artifacts was mostly Acheulean hand axe and cleavers prepared by Lavalois techniques. Artifacts were made on hard and durable quartzites. Limestone was also used in make tools. The only fossil evidence of an early hominid comprises a partial cranium of archaic Homo sapiens or Homo erectus discovered at Hathnora in Madhya Pradesh. It was the Narmada man. And this is the first one, the hominids found in India. Then Middle Paleolithic age. Open air sites along streams, on the hills, stable dune surfaces, and rock shelters continue to be used. Scrapers, denticulates, borers, and points are predominant tools. Many tools were also made on large blade-like planks. Tools were smaller, lighter, and thinner. Lavalois and discoidal core techniques used. Fine-grained siliceous rocks such as sard and jasper used for tool making. Faunal remains comprising Equus nomadicus, Bos nomadicus, Hexaprotodon, Paleoindicus, Elephas hydricus, and Stegodon insignis, Genia, and Scarves species. Important areas of Middle Paleolithic sites, mostly in Balan Valley in UP, Loni Valley in Rajasthan, Son and Narmada River valleys, central India, and Bhimbetka, Madhya Pradesh. Then the third one is Upper Paleolithic age. The Upper Paleolithic age is around 30,000 years BP. Bhimbetka rock painting in Madhya Pradesh, India, which is around 30,000 years old. The artifact types include a wide range of blade scrapers, back blades, points, and bearings. Regional variability in blade technology and assembly structure may be clearly identified. For the first time, bone tools appear in the limestone caves of Kurnool in Andhra Pradesh. The major areas of Upper Paleolithic is, again, in Balan Valley of UP, Son Valley, this is central India, near to the Uttar Pradesh, and Chotanagpur Plateau, Bihar, Maharashtra, Orissa, Eastern Ghat in Andhra Pradesh. These are some of the tools of Paleolithic era: chopper, handeks, and cleavers. Then Middle Paleolithic tools, Upper Paleolithic tools, and also a cave art. Then the next stage of prehistoric development is Mesolithic age, which is also known as Middle Stone Age. In the time of Mesolithic period, in the Indian subcontinent, extensive settlement occurred after the end of the last ices, approximately 10,000 years BC. Major climate change happened. Climate becomes warmer and humid. The first confirmed semi-permanent settlements appeared in 7000 BC in the Bhimbetka rock shelters in modern Madhya Pradesh, India. More than 1,000 rock shelters with paintings in over 150 sites. Most of them started during Mesolithic period. Pottery appears in later phases at the sites in Mekhahia and Baghaikho. Hump cattle, goat, buffalo, deer, fox, and jackal, as well as wealth of aqueous fauna were consumed. Rhinos, deer, and elephant were also hunted. First tentative steps towards domestication of animals and plants occurred. At Bagor in Rajasthan, bones of domesticated sheep and goat found. Ringstone found at many sites were possibly used for primitive cultivation or fishing. Human burials from the site at Langnas in Gujarat. In the caves and rock shelters of the central Indian hills, Mesolithic rock paintings, people hunting game, gathering plant resources, trapping animals, eating together, dancing, and playing instruments. Women carry basket with fruits, use rubbers and querns, and tent childrens, painted net traps for fishing. Microliths are shown half-tipped to form spears, bows, and arrows. The Mesolithic found in major Mesolithic sites include blade, core, point, triangles, lunettes, and trapezoids. The bones of a variety of animals have been discovered in and around the Mesolithic settlements. The earliest of these sites have yielded the remains of cattle, sheep, goat, pig, dog, deer, boar, bison, hippo, fox, jackal, wolf, cheetah, antelope, hare, porcupine, mangoes, lizard, tortoise, fish, etc. Some of the species like camel, nilgai, and rhinoceros are present only in the sites of Mesolithic traditions. These are some of the, say, microliths found in India in many sites. The major areas of Mesolithic sites are Brahmagiri in Mysore, then most of the sites of Narmada Valley, then Vindhya, then Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Sujat, Rajasthan, and Bhimbetka, Madhya Pradesh, and then Godavari Basin and Sarai Naharai. Then we come to the New Stone Age, that is Neolithic. The early Neolithic culture in South Asia is represented by the Virana findings around 7500 BC in Haryana, India, and Mehergarh findings 7000 BC onwards in Balochistan, Pakistan. Traces of Neolithic culture in the Gulf of Khambat in India, radiocarbon dated to 7500 BC. And Neolithic agriculture sprung up in the Indus Valley region around 5000 BC. In the lower Gangetic Valley, It is found around 3000 years BC. In South India, Neolithic started around 1800 BC. Moving from nomadics to settled life. Potter's wheel discovered during Neolithic times. Wheat, ragi, then rice, horse gram were cultivated. Practiced weaving, then intentional disposal of the dead. Everywhere in the subcontinent, Neolithic occurred, and Northeast Indian Neolithic is somewhat unique development. Important sites and areas of Neolithic culture in India. This is Inamgaon, Maharashtra, then Burjahom, Kashmir, Mehergarh in Pakistan, Dauzali Hading in Assam, Halur, Andhra Pradesh, Piampalli, Andhra Pradesh, and Siran in Bihar. These are some of the Neolithic tools found in India as well as pottery. Then we come to the next phase. This is Salcolythic Age. With the end of the Neolithic Age, several cultures started using metal, mostly copper and low-grade bronze. The culture based on the use of copper and stone was termed as Salcolythic, meaning stone copper phase. In India, it spanned around 4000 BC to 1500 BC. This culture was mainly seen in pre-Harappan phase, but at many places, it extended to post-Harappan phase too. The people were mostly rural and lived near hills and rivers. The Salcolythic cultures corresponds to the farming communities, namely Kayatha, Ahar, and Banas, Malwa, and Jewellery. It was continuing at the time of Indus civilization with different culture around 2700 BC to 1900 BC. The important Salcolythic culture of India. The first one is Ahar culture. This Ahar is actually in Rajasthan, then Balathal, then Guland, etc. The distinctive features is black and red ware. Then Kayatha culture located in Chambal and its tributaries. The sturdy red slip ware and chocolate design is main features. Then Malwa culture, which is found in Narmada and its tributaries in Gujarat.
Excuse me, sir.
Largest Salcolythic settlements.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
We are running
Yes.
short of time. You just have 5 minutes left for question answers
Okay,
and to wind up.
okay.
Please
I'll skip. And the other cultures are Salava cultures and Pravas and Rangpur cultures. Then the Indus Valley civilization, the first urban civilization in India, and hundreds of excavations carried out on this civilization. And the research stages were first phase in 1924, the second phase started in 1947, and third phase in 1964, and current phase in 1985 onwards. The major sites are Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, Ambri, Kodiji, Kalibangan, Ghagar, Hakra, and Lothal. And the major features are architecture, rituals, pottery, seal and writing, terracotta figures, urban planning, and bronze toys. These are some of the pictures. Then Iron Age and Indian megaliths. I think about Indian megaliths and Northeastern megaliths, earlier speakers, Dr. Kalpana Sudhuri has enumerated rightfully, and I will give you a very brief introduction on Iron Age. India's Iron Age emerged in an area of transition known as the Vedic period, around 1500 to 600 BC. And out of this changing world, India's first cultures to start systematically smelting and using iron appeared. And from about 700 to 600 BC, the painted greyware culture was replaced by the ceramic styles of new tradition, which is known as Northern Black Polished ware, and around 700 to 200 BC. Then these are some of the picture of painted greyware and Northern Black Polished ware and iron tools. And megalithic culture in southern India was a full-fledged iron culture when the great benefits of use of this metal were fully realized by the people. The megalithic is a large prehistoric stone that has been used to construct a structure of a monument either alone or together with other stones. Most extant megaliths were erected between the Neolithic period through the ages of Salcolythic period and into the Bronze Age and Iron Age. The Indian context, the megaliths stretch from dates before 3000 BC till about 900 AD. There has at least 12 types of megaliths in India. Then I'll skip this one. These are some of the pictures of megaliths in the subcontinent. Stone circles of central India, other anthropomorphic figures and hero stones. And I will say something about the prehistory. May I have another 2-3 minutes? Hello? May I have another 2-3 minutes, ma'am?
You can say for a minute, sir.
The present status of archaeological research is surprisingly poor, and it can still be considered as terra incognita compared to the other parts of India. And Northeast India is considered as a corridor for connecting the Indian subcontinent to the Eastern world, the region lying at the junction of East Asia, South Asia, East Asia, and Southeast Asian countries. Despite the great archaeological potential, the region could draw only marginal attention in academic arena due to several drawbacks, such as less academic departments relying on traditional approach, lack of technical knowledge, multidisciplinary approach, infrastructure, and general interest in archaeology. And there are some other problems also. The extensive valley of river Brahmaputra and Barak spreading entire length of Assam is flooded every year, and a huge amount of sediments are deposited each year, which might have covered the earlier deposits. The fast growing vegetation cover in hilly areas does not allow in prospecting archaeological objects scattered on the surface. The long duration of rainy climate becomes unfavorable for archaeological exploration and excavation. Most of the hilly areas are inaccessible due to insurgency problem. Then high level creating problems during excavation and prevent establishing the stratigraphical sequence. And poor preservation condition due to great humidity of the climate and acidic soil. Despite so many constraints, several prehistoric archaeological research work have been done in Northeast India during post-independent era. And the stone artifacts discovered so far in Northeast India have been classified on the basis of typo-technological features as Paleolithic, having again 3 lower, middle, and upper Paleolithic, and Mesolithic, Wabinian, and Neolithic. We have archaeological records belong to different cultural periods, but due to the lack of absolute date, we still have a very flimsy scenario of various cultural phases in Northeast India. And reconstruction of the past is still lacking of human adaptation, man-land relationships, subsistence, and settlement pattern, with a process of oriented scenario of new archaeological approach. Due attention has to be paid for multidisciplinary approach with more dating attempts for revealing the prehistoric and historical background of Northeast India. Recently, many young prehistoric archaeologists have done some excellent works in this line, and I do hope in near future they will able to highlight some of the hitherto unknown aspects of prehistory of Northeast India. These are some personalities who are, say, engaged in prehistoric archaeological research from Department of Anthropology, Guwahati University. And I was a direct student of them, Professor A.C. Bhagavati, then Professor Tarun Sharma sir, Professor Tarun Sharma sir, Professor S.N. Rajguru from Deccan College, Professor D.K. Medhi, Professor A.C. Sharma, and he was my PhD supervisor, and Dr. Abdullah Ali Ashraf. And these are some of the tool and pottery found in Northeast Indian sites. And thank you all for nice cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for giving a wonderful historical view of prehistoric archaeology. All of us have indeed learned a lot from your informative presentations. If there are any questions, you may ask, but I think there is one question by Abhishek Bhomik. Like he has written, what is the prevailing scenario of Turkic languages in India, apart from the Iranian family of languages? He's saying,
It is
I think the answer...
Turkic Mongol actually. Turkish people and Azerbaijan, Uzbek, and Central Asia, mainly these people are found in Turkey. And these people are also found in India, mainly in Western India. And a very little, say, population group found in Western India.
Thank you, sir, but we are running short of time as usual. So I request all the participants to kindly contact sir for their queries. Okay,
yes,
we'll do that.
Absolutely.
You can
they may
directly
contact. They may contact.
Yes, sir.
Sorry for taking more time.
No, sir. It is okay. It is okay, sir. No problem. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our third and last presentation of today's webinar will be delivered by Dr. Mayuri Borkotoki, Head of the Department of Anthropology, Pragjyotish College, and her topic is A Glimpse of Harappan Civilization. I request Pankhi Sharma of Pragjyotish College to give a brief introduction of Dr. Mayuri Borkotoki.
Good afternoon, everyone. Feeling so glad to introduce one of my teacher, Dr. Mayuri Borkotoki ma'am. She did her graduation from Cotton College and post-graduation from Guwahati University. And she has done her PhD from Guwahati University on the topic Infant and Early Childhood Mortality under the supervision of Dr. Rekha Das ma'am. And she has joined Pragjyotish College as a teacher from 1998, and in the year August 2019, she has joined as the HOD Anthropology Pragjyotish College. She was a supervisor for dissertation work at IGNO Center, Cotton University. She was also working in the Department of MTM, Pragjyotish College, since 2005 as a guest faculty and supervisor of fieldwork and dissertation. She is a life member of INCA and CEEP and presented various papers in national level seminars and published papers in books and reputed journals. She has also organized a workshop on heritage in collaboration with Intact Kamrup chapter. Thank you, ma'am. I would like to hand over the mic to Dr. Mayuri, ma'am. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Pankhi. Respected Principal Sir, Vice Principal Ma'am, today's resource persons, Dr. Vinoy Kumar Srivastava Sir, and Hari Kumar Mahanta sir, Dr. Hari Kumar Mahanta sir, and esteemed participants. Now I am going to present my speech. The Indus River Valley Civilization, also known as, okay, first I start my PPT, sorry. My topic is a glimpse of Harappan civilization. So, Harappan civilization, named after its type site of Harappa, the first of its site to be excavated early in the 20th century, in then the Punjab province of British India and now in Pakistan. In 1856, British colonial officials in India were busy in monitoring the construction of a railway connecting the cities of Lahore and Karachi in modern-day Pakistan along the Indus River Valley. As the laborer continued to work, they discovered many fire-baked bricks. There were hundreds and thousands of fairly uniform bricks which seemed to be quite old, and the workers used some of these bricks to construct the roadbed. Unaware of that, they were using ancient artifacts, and among the bricks they also found some stone artifacts made of soapstone featuring intricate artistic markings. Until the 1920s, excavation did not take place. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were discovered in the year 1921 and 22 respectively. It was Dayaram Sahani who gets credit for preliminary excavation of Harappa. Mohenjo-daro was discovered in 1922 by R.D. Banerjee, Rakhaldas Banerjee. Both Dayaram Sahani and Rakhaldas Banerjee were the officers of Archaeological Survey of India, and large-scale excavation were carried out at these sites under the direction of John Marcel. From 1921 to 1947, 40 sites have been excavated. However, there were only 5 major urban cities, that is Harappa, Mohenjo-daro. Mohenjo-daro is a UNESCO World Heritage Center, then Dholavira, Ganeriwala in Cholistan, and Rakhigara. And subsequent excavation at the twin cities, Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, brought to light the existence of one of the most ancient civilization in the Indus Valley. It is also known as Indus Valley Civilization as it was first recognized in Indus Valley. But with the recent discoveries, a large number of sites outside the valley, some archaeologists prefer the name Harappa civilization, a term coined by the archaeologist after the first site of the civilization. After the discovery of Harappa, a number of sites have been discovered showing the cultural expansion of the Harappans from the foothills of Himalayas at Ropar to shows the Arabian Sea. It covers parts of Punjab, Sindh, Baluchistan, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and the fringes of western Uttar Pradesh. The area formed a triangle and counted for about 1,299,600 square kilometers, which is larger than Pakistan and certainly bigger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. No cultural zone in the 3rd and 2nd millennium BC in the world was as early as the Harappan zone. Till now, more than 1,500 sites have been discovered from different parts of the globe, such as in Afghanistan, there were 2 sites. There are 2 sites. In Pakistan, the number of sites are 475, and in India, 925 sites are there. Out of all Harappan cities, the most important cities are Harappa in Punjab and the Mohenjo-daro in Sindh, both forming parts of Pakistan, situated at a distance of 483 kilometers. They were linked together by Indus. The third city lay at Chanudaru, about 130 kilometers south of the Mohenjo-daro in Sindh. The fourth at Lothal in Gujarat, and the fifth is Kalibangan in Rajasthan. The sixth, called Banwali, is situated in Hisar district of Haryana. But Harappa and Mohenjo-daro stand out like twins capital in the single empire amongst a number of sites. The Harappa culture is widely distributed in northern India. The earliest level of this culture is dated to 2300 BC at Harappa. Some of the distinctive features of the Harappa culture are the discovery of a number of Indus-like seals inscribed with short inscription in the Harappan script, which is not yet deciphered. The emergence of carnelian beads and with holes. The occurrence of cylindrical vessels with multiple perforations. It is believed that these vessels could have served the purpose of either keeping smoking essence or the compressing water from fermented milk. Next, the occurrence of big amphora. Amphora is two-handled storage vessel, then goblets with pointed base and medium-sized open-lipped bowls as the characteristics of Harappan potware. The fabric is usually sleeved with a bright red clay coating. The decoration usually found in the Harappan wares are extensive and not restricted to the neck and the lip alone. They were executed sometimes all over the vessel. The designs usually consist of animal and plant motifs and geometric patterns, interesting circles in a series. Fish scale pattern, people leaves, peacocks executed in the characteristic style. Humped bulls and human types rarely occur except in statues. Of the Harappan sites, the two important ones because of their outstanding size, diversity of excavated finds and traits of advanced culture like well-planned house blocks with long, straight, well-drained streets, and the defense wall are closely referred to as metropolis, the twin capitals of Indus Valley settlements. These sites happen to be on the northern and southern sides of the southern metropolis in Mohenjo-daro on the right bank of the Indus, and the northern metropolis is Harappa on the left bank of now dry course of the Ravi in Punjab. Here the most characteristic feature is the use of burnt bricks for the construction of dwelling structures. The other important feature of this Harappan capital cities is the designing of a granary with holes kept in the walls for air ventilation. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were just two of 1,500 cities in the Indus River Valley. There are thousands of artifacts with 400 to 600 different written symbols. Most of these symbols were pressed with soft clay with seals. Indus script symbols have been discovered in Metropolitan, which suggests that they maintained a regular trade. The civilization cities were noted for their urban planning, elaborate drainage system, water supply system, cluster of non-residential buildings, and new techniques of handicraft, carnelian products, and scale carving and metallurgy. The building were made from mud bricks that had been fired in a kiln to make it harder. A kiln is clay pottery. Home arts built along the roads, sometimes with live in urban areas and lived in farming villages in rural areas. Farmers domesticated several plants such as melons, wheat, peas, dates, sesame seeds, and cotton, as well as many animals. Archaeologists discover what food the ancient Indian people ate by examining the teeth of skeletons and food storage. Features of some Harappan cities. One of the biggest.
Excuse me, Dr. Mayuri ma'am. I
Yes.
think we are running very short of time. So
Okay,
one,
just
2 minutes
1
more
minute.
left for you.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. One of the biggest, largest structure that has been discovered is called the Great Bath. Basically, it's a public pool that is over 40 feet long and 20 feet wide over nearly 10 feet deep. And about the jewelry, the Harappans, both men and women, decorated themselves with a large variety of ornaments from every conceivable material, ranging from precious metals and gemstones to bone and baked clay. Ornaments include necklace and gold and semi-precious stones, copper, 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 and semi-precious disturbance. Precious stones include necklace of gold and semi-precious stone, copper bracelets and beads, gold earrings and head ornaments, pendants and buttons, shell, ivory, terracotta are also used for making ornaments. Tools and weapons made of copper and large copper. The Happens used a large variety of tools made of other materials such as sandstone, granite, dolerite, etc. A unique contribution of local craftsmen is the invention of a rotary mill in stone in which less manual labor for grinding corn in large quantity is required. Regarding dress, unfortunately, no dress material is found except a fragment of cotton cloth found at Mohenjo-daro. Then this civilization began to decline mysteriously. According to scholars, a great earthquake crumbled cities and changed the path of rivers, which had to move people to move outside that area. Whatever may be the cause, it is clouded by mysteries. With this, I conclude my lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Borkotoki, for giving us such a vivid description of Harappan civilization. I'm sorry to say we don't have time for any question answer session. Dear participants, if you have any queries, you may contact Dr. Mayuri Borkotoki directly. You can talk to her or you can contact her if you have any queries. Because we have to wind up and we have our next closing session today. Thank you, madam, once again. For the closing ceremony, we are now going to start the closing session of the 4-day national webinar series on archaeological anthropology. I hope Principal Sir is here with us. I request Dr. Manoj Kumar Mohanta, Principal Pragjyotish College and President of this webinar committee, to deliver his brief remarks. Principal Sir.
Need to move it. Control.
I don't know if Principal Sir is here. Maybe he's coming. He may be slightly late. What to do? Dr. Principal Sir, Dr. Manoj Kumar Mohanta Sir, I request you to deliver your brief remarks, sir. Okay, then I think sir will come. We can still continue. I would now like to request Dr. Mayuri Borkotoki, Head of the Department of Anthropology and convener of this webinar, to present the closing remarks.
Thank you, ma'am. After 4 days deliberation from 1st August today, we come to the end of this national level webinar on archaeological anthropology. I'd like to thank our principal sir, and it is in fact an immense pleasure for me that with great support and cooperation from our principal sir, vice principal ma'am, IQAC coordinator, colleagues, it would have been possible to organize this webinar, meant basically for the benefit of the student community. I'm really thankful to all of you while organizing this event. I was expecting Professor Srivastava sir, former head of the department, Delhi University Anthropology Department, presently Director, Anthropological Survey of India, to deliver the inaugural keynote address. Due to his prior engagement, he could not join on the very first day. Fortunately, to my repeated request for his presence, he gave us his consent to deliver a lecture. In spite of his busy schedule today, he is with us. Sir, your gracious presence is a blessing for us and make this occasion very meaningful, inspiring, the illuminating, also sharing your empirical, informative field experience with us. It's a great pride for all of us. I am very much thankful to you, sir. We are fortunate enough to find among us Dr. Hari Mohantar, Register, Dibrugarh University. It is your kindness as well as concern for students and love towards academic involvement. Although you have to be busy with lots of administrative ventures every day, thank you so much, sir. We have among with us a number of resource persons, and they deliver lecture during these 4 days. I thank you all for your generous presence, and Then the participants who have come from different parts of our country and as well as abroad, I thank you all for your participation. We have, then I thank Dr. Aziz for his technical support, and with this, I would like to conclude my deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Borkotoki. And finally, we come to the vote of thanks, which I'm going to deliver. So, good afternoon, everyone present here. We have finally come to the end of this 4-day wonderful webinar series since 1st August, and this would not have been possible without the able guidance and support of our principal, Dr. Manoj Kumar Mahanta. I, Dr. Ranjita Deka of Pragjyotish College, on behalf of the Department of Anthropology, would like to thank our principal for giving us this opportunity. I would also like to thank Professor Dipen Besborwa of Guwahati University, Dr. Jonali Devi of Cotton University, Dr. Queen Bala Marak of Northeastern Hill University, who were the speakers on the first day of the webinar and have enriched our minds with their wonderful presentations. My thanks also goes to Dr. Gorima Thakuria of Sikkim University, Dr. Kalpana Chaudhary of Dimoria College, Khetri, Ponki Sharma of Pragjyotish College, Guwahati, who took part on the second day of the webinar and spoke so vividly on Upper Paleolithic, Megalithic traditions and Middle Paleolithic of India. Thank you so much for it. My heartfelt thanks also goes to Dr. Bandita Medhi Deka of Arya Vidyapith College, Guwahati, Dr. Gitanjali Devi of Dibrugarh University, Dr. Anamika Gogoi Dwara of Arya Vidyapith College, Guwahati, Dr. Nilofer Jasmine of Morigaon College, who were the speakers of the third day of the webinar, and without them, it would not have been possible to make this webinar successful. Thank you once again. Finally, today, we had in our midst Professor Vinay Kumar Srivastava, Director, Anthropological Society of India, who has so kindly agreed to be a part of this webinar in spite of his busy schedule. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us this opportunity and making our webinar successful. Your presence and fruitful discussions on ethnography enlightened and enriched our minds, especially our students. Thank you so much, sir. Today, we also had Dr. Harichandra Mohanta of Dibrugarh University, Dr. Mayuri Borkotoki of Pragjyotish College, and I take this opportunity to thank them for their presentations on prehistoric archaeology and Harappan civilization of India. It was indeed mind-blowing. Thank you so much once again. Finally, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all our participants and students who were present in this webinar series and making this webinar so successful. My sincere thanks also goes to Dr. Manjit Kumar Mujumdar, IQAC coordinator, Dr. Aziz Khan, technical support, who were monitoring and giving constant support throughout the entire program and helped us to make this webinar a grand success. Thank you once again. Namaskar.